Nice to be in orbit.
I see the flying car industry as game-changing when it comes to not only future warfare, but future military operations, just as important, humanitarian relief operations, hurricane support, all the things that we do defense of the homeland. If you start thinking about these devices as nodes in a network, it fundamentally changes the game.
Agility Prime is a program with a vision of world impact. By partnering today with stakeholders across industries and agencies, we can set up the United States for this aerospace phenomenon. Potential outcomes are rewarding and transformative with both military and commercial applications.
I want to offer my congratulations to Dr. Roper and his team for achieving this revolutionary rapid contracting and prototyping method to bring industry and DoD together to develop this new exciting technology with both military and civilian applications. This technology will have great benefit to the needs that we have in Alaska and the Arctic, where conventional aircraft, vehicles, and vessels oftentimes can't operate.
Agility Prime is part of our Defense Department's long history of turning futuristic ideas into reality. I'm proud that the federal government is investing in revolutionary ideas. Agility Prime is leading the way.
This launch of Agility Prime is so exciting. This technology has the potential to make vertical flight more affordable and more widely available. And with the encouragement of the U.S. Air Force and the entire federal government, American companies employing American workers can gain a head start and win a fair share of this lucrative market. eVTOLs have the same agile, vertical takeoff and landing capability as helicopters, but are quieter and should cost much less to operate because of their electric motors.
We are becoming a trusted innovation partner in commercial tech. I could not be prouder of this initiative. I could not be prouder of this team. And I am excited to see how quickly we can go to help commercialize this market for our nation so that our warfighters have options they don't have today, and our nation has an economic advantage far into the future. Innovation is a battlefield, and Agility Prime is just one way we're going to win it.
Agility Prime seeks to ensure a global advantage in advanced logistics technology. Agility Prime can reduce the risk of adversary commercial dominance, resulting in military disadvantage. As the United States Air Force looks at generating combat power away from runways, those distributed logistics aircraft must be runway independent. This new transformative capability is a promising opportunity to conduct that mission in an affordable and a scalable manner.
Today we gather for Agility Prime to drive transportation innovation, lower barriers to entry, and expand our partnerships.
We see a time when automation technologies make the requirements on the pilot much less. And we see flying as being accessible to a much wider range of people.
It is truly a great credit to Agility Prime. They could put on this virtual event with so many hometowns of the United States represented. You know, industrial base is not really about just what a country can make. More than that, it's about the people who dream up what to make. And then, of course, those people who make it.
Hello, and welcome to the Agility Prime Team Up event. I'm Colonel Nathan Diller, the AFWERX Director and Agility Prime Team Lead. Today, we were supposed to have a hybrid event, some virtual, so we could reach out to around the world, but also some in person to keep that human component. Particularly, we're going to be in person in Ohio at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the new home of AFWERX. Unfortunately, COVID changed that, and so joining me today virtually is my co-host. She is currently in Ohio, and Elaine Bryant is here to help welcome in Ohio and AFWERX as part of a new ecosystem. She is the Managing Director of Jobs Ohio Federal and Military Installations. She's the Executive Vice President for Aerospace and Defense at the Dayton Development Coalition. Elaine, good morning, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Nate. Good morning to you, and good morning to everyone on the call. We're very excited this morning to continue in the tradition of the Wright brothers here in Dayton, Ohio, just as they launched the first revolution in aerospace. With Agility Prime, Ohio is continuing to push the next revolution in aerospace. And we're excited to partner with the Air Force, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, as you know, home to our Air Force Materiel Command, Life Cycle Management Center, Air Force Research Lab, National Air and Space Intelligence Center, our Air Force Institute of Technology. And if that weren't enough, just as Nate just said, now the home of AFWERX and Agility Prime. And so to commemorate that here in Ohio and this partnership, we are thrilled to bring quite the lineup of folks to show their support and collaboration from our U.S. congressional, state, and local leaders, as well as the leading companies emerging in this aerospace market that are going to take it to the next step.
This morning, to welcome everyone, is the new Air Force Research Laboratory Commander, General Pringle. Heather Pringle will be coming on video here, and she will be telling us about this transition that is happening with AFWERX, Agility Prime. And what you're going to see this morning is an amazingly diverse group ready to team up and make some phenomenal progress in the skies across America as we look to democratize air travel. Online, we have some of the top industry leaders driving us into this new era of aerospace. We also have some of our most innovative leaders across the Department of Defense, our leadership in the Air Force Materiel Command, in our Air Force Acquisitions, and our Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. So with that, General Pringle, ma'am, over to you for some welcoming comments to the rest of the team here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Heather Pringle, the commander of Air Force Research Lab, and thank you, Nate. Thank you, Elaine, for having me here today. You know, this is an exciting opportunity to grow and accelerate our relationships between government, industry, investors, and academia. And of course, we wouldn't be here today without the groundwork laid by the great state of Ohio, our local community partners such as the Dayton Development Coalition and others across the nation, General Wilson, General Bunch, General Lyles, and so many others that made today happen. We're excited about this opportunity to bring new and impactful technologies faster to the warfighter. We want to build new communities with industry, investors, and academia, and work across aeronautics and aerospace from science and technology to bring these technologies to reality. This is an amazing opportunity to collaborate across many of the disciplines that are at the heart of Air Force Research Lab's technical disciplines, everything from advanced manufacturing, high-speed communications in air and space, propulsion technologies, autonomy, artificial intelligence, sensors, and so much more. And so this partnership and having AFWERX as part of our family is just one of the ways in which AFRL is learning to connect faster and build new technologies for the warfighter. And it's going to be an exciting year, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you, General Pringle. We are thrilled to have you here as the new Air Force Research Lab Commander, and of course, in our Dayton community. Ohio is fortunate to have a team of dedicated elected officials that understand not just the importance and what Agility Prime means for our country, but they know the importance and the value of both the Air Force and our national defense missions. And so our senators, Senator Portman, Senator Brown, Representative Tim Ryan, from the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, and our very own Lieutenant Governor John Husted have taped a few brief videos that we'd like to share with you now. And the message here is Ohio is all in. We are ready. We have the innovative workforce. We have the unparalleled research and testing capabilities. And we have the nationally known for our advanced manufacturing. And so with that, I will turn it over for the video to roll, please.
Hi, I'm U.S. Senator Rob Portman. I'm pleased to have the chance to talk about how my home state of Ohio will play a key role in the Air Force's new Agility Prime initiative to develop electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Some people call them flying cars. As the birthplace of flight, Ohio has the private and public research capability, federal military airworthiness, and certification expertise, and the manufacturing firepower to lead the nation in this ambitious project. We're well positioned. For starters, Ohio is proud to be the largest manufacturing supplier to several aerospace prime manufacturers and is the home of major sub-tier manufacturers for aircraft systems. We also excel in battery and electric propulsion technology research, development, and manufacturing, which is going to be critical to this endeavor. What's more, as the home of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, we conduct the world's cutting-edge research in fields like materials, flight control, sensors, and human integration and performance. And Ohio's NASA Glenn Research Center in Northeast Ohio is a recognized expert in electric propulsion. You can also count on us to make sure the project gets off the ground, literally. The Air Force's Airworthiness Office, also at Wright-Pat, is a trusted partner of the FAA in making sure aircraft and their pilots are ready to take to the skies. Ohio's got the airspace and control operations to handle the development of any new aircraft system. We partnered with the Air Force to develop Sky Vision, a ground-based detect and avoid system operated by the Ohio Department of Transportation in Springfield. Meanwhile, NASA Glenn has expertise in unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility, which are really important in this effort. So, tying all these assets together is our outstanding research network. The Ohio Federal Research Network, comprised of some of the best colleges and universities, has ongoing research and development projects in key areas of the Agility Prime initiative. In all, we've got 80 universities and colleges graduating more than 13,000 engineers and engineering technicians every year in Ohio. So from the Wright brothers to Neil Armstrong and John Glenn to innovators of today, Ohio is at the forefront of flight. Our industry, research institutions, and government labs are a combination unequaled anywhere in the United States, and the best place to make the Air Force Agility Prime initiative make sure it has the success we're looking for to lead the nation and the world. Thank you so much for letting me speak with you all today. Let's get this done, and let's push the limits of flight once again.
Hi, I'm Sherrod Brown. I have the honor of representing Ohio in the United States Senate. Thank you to the Dayton Development Coalition always and the Air Force for inviting me to speak virtually today. Thank you to AFWERX and the Air Force Research Lab for hosting today's Agility Prime event. This event is all about teaming up, which the Air Force and Wright-Pat and the Dayton Development Coalition do so very well, creating partnerships that encourage a culture of innovation. It's about pursuing forward-thinking research like the Agility Prime initiative that will create American jobs for American companies and bolster our national security. I've held some 500 or so roundtables around Ohio, and like many of you, I know the best ideas don't come out of Washington. They come from Ohioans with innovative thoughts and ideas. Ohio's always been a state of innovators and explorers, from the Wright brothers to Geraldine Mock to Ohio's 24 astronauts. Ohio is first in flight, and our state's leadership in aerospace is essential to our country's success in the years ahead. Ohioans know how important manufacturing is to our economy. Sometimes people hear the word manufacturing, they think dirty, dusty old jobs, and they use the outdated, I find highly offensive term, Rust Belt. But today's factories in Ohio aren't rusting, they're innovative, they're high tech. In aerospace, companies in Dayton, astronautical engineering work at Brook Park, the critical research that happens right here at Wright-Pat, at the research lab here. Our scientists, our researchers, our skilled workers are equipped to continue building our nation's economic prosperity and national security. We know that continued research and investment are vital to a growing Ohio's economy. Our service members, our civilians across Ohio perform vital missions. And that we know is so important, whether it's the research and acquisition at Wright Pat, or the global airlift mission at Yars and Youngstown and Mansfield, or the critical mission flown by the 180th in Toledo. We know the multiplier effect these missions have on the local economy. That's why it's so important that the federal government support and invest in initiatives like Agility Prime. As a member of the Senate Air Force Caucus, and as one of the leaders, if I could say that, in this caucus over the years, I'm working to ensure Ohio continues to lead in innovation for generations to come. It's my dream to see advanced air mobility equipment and technology stamped made in Ohio and developed in Ohio, and that be used commercially in military bases around the world. I'm excited to work with all of you to help us get there. Agility Prime represents the future of flight, the endless possibility of motivation, of innovation. Thank you so very much.
I'm Congressman Tim Ryan. I'd like to offer my congratulations to the United States Air Force on the success of Agility Prime. This is a major achievement, not just for the Air Force, but for our country. Electric vertical takeoff and landing technologies are a tremendous opportunity for us, not only to innovate in the area of advanced materials, but also in manufacturing. The Air Force's Agility Prime program, led by AFWERX and the Air Force Research Lab in Ohio, is critical to the future of this market. These aircraft could revolutionize the way we travel. They are not only more cost-effective than typical ground transportation, but they are cleaner and quieter. This technology will benefit our military and our civil communities, as well as including logistics and delivery systems, medical evacuations, firefighting, disaster relief, search and rescue, and humanitarian relief operations. The flexible use of these vehicles makes them suitable for cities and rural areas alike. I've long pushed for innovation in materials and additive manufacturing, and the strides gained over the course of this project represents a massive area of opportunity for us to create lightweight material structures with extraordinary strength. And besides the engineering benefits, Agility Prime may very well mark a new era of American manufacturing. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted weaknesses in the existing American supply chains. But this project could be a key to reinforcing supply chains and insulating us from instability around the world. We are looking at a future with an entirely new supply chain of artisan manufacturers who can rapidly scale. That means American manufacturers will adapt to new demands, building and delivering state-of-the-art goods faster than ever before. This marks an opportunity that we rarely see, leading the frontier of an entirely new industry. And under the Agility Prime program, the Air Force estimates there could be joint military and commercial fielding of these vehicles by the year 2023. With our full support and initiative, Ohio and the United States could lead the charge, scaling up advanced manufacturing and dominating the market. That also means more opportunity for the American workforce, so more hardworking Americans have the opportunity to earn a good life in communities across the country. As a member of the Defense Appropriations Committee, I will do everything I can to ensure Ohio is at the forefront of these kinds of next-generation technologies. Congratulations again to the Air Force, AFWERX, and the Air Force Research Lab. I look forward to working together so we can win the economy of the future.
Hello, I'm Ohio Lieutenant Governor John Husted. The Air Force's Agility Prime effort offers an opportunity to ensure that the U.S. maintains a competitive advantage, not just in aerospace and defense, but across key technologies for the future of air mobility. Ohio is the birthplace of aviation, and this is our chance to show that aviation just isn't our past, it's our present and our future. The Air Force Materiel Command and the Air Force Research Laboratory, both headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, play a critical role in ensuring the success of this advanced air mobility market. Agility Prime is the Air Force's vision for this transformational mobility technology. It is the key to success in this effort by helping develop the workforce of the future through collaboration among small businesses, universities, and research institutions. A long-term leader in aerospace and defense supply, Ohio is well positioned to ensure that America leads in these industries. The number of small companies leveraging the deep technical expertise in and around the Dayton region represents some of the most fertile ground for innovation that our nation has to offer. The collaboration between General Bunch and Dr. Roper continues to ensure that the greatest ideas across the Air Force Capability Development Enterprise are moved forward from lab rapidly with the goal of balancing cost and performance. Through competition and innovation, America can innovate faster than our adversaries. However, it requires a sense of urgency. The Dayton region's established industry and Air Force leadership, together with support from the state of Ohio, creates an opportunity to advance some of the world's most innovative aerospace concepts right in our own backyard. This effort will bring things like electric vertical takeoff and landing of aircraft into the military and civil ecosystems, ensuring that America and Ohio will lead this industry of the future. Today's event sets us on the right path to launch this initiative, bolstering our efforts to ensure America's rightful place as a leader for this industry's future.
Clearly, here in Ohio, we are ready to lead this revolution and ready to team up with the Air Force and the industry that's going to make this magic happen.
Joining our distinguished lineup this morning, we have two pioneers in the eVTOL revolution. Since the Agility Prime launch, significant and substantive work has happened to enable this revolution. Notably, the first two Agility Prime partners have made it to the third leg in the air race to certification and have secured contracts to begin flight tests and simulator experimentation with our phenomenal technical expertise resident at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and across the Air Force Materiel Command. Kyle is the CEO of Beta Technologies. They just over the last month or so have released the form factor of their very exciting new electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. They have a contract for simulators to bring training and to bring flight of that aircraft to the United States Air Force. Kyle, thanks for joining us this morning, and thanks for the great work that your team has been doing.
Thanks for having me, Nate. We're really excited to both deliver simulators, more importantly, provide the data and the learning that comes along with the simulators. I'm here in a dome simulator at our facility, and usually don't wear a flight suit in here, but we actually just finished flight testing about an hour ago and hustled over here to our headquarters to get back in the simulator, which is used to prep for flight tests, used for experiencing different modes of flight, developing controllers, and doing a little form flights. So I'm here with my colleague who's in an adjacent simulator flying under virtual reality, and he's about to take off, and I'm going to follow him out in this simulator. So here he goes. He's doing a little artwork there and down the runway. And I'm up and away, chasing him down the runway. And we're able to fly in form while I'm watching, Bianca, if you could pause this real quick. I'm watching all my systems. And the important part of the simulator is, of course, all the systems from batteries to propulsion to fly-by-wire system are all accurately represented. So we're super excited to join you guys in an effort to get to delivered simulators by this year and delivered aircraft by 2023.
Fantastic, Kyle. Thanks so much. Also joining us today, Joby Beverett, the CEO of Joby Aviation, and truly an icon in this sector. They have, over the last year, taken their first aircraft prototype. Now they're going on to the second one, starting those flights. Joe, and thanks for being here with us, and really appreciate all the work that your team has done. Contracts moving, aircraft flying, airworthiness on the way. Excited about the future here.
Thank you so much, Colonel Diller. It's just incredible to be part of the Agility Prime team. We're incredibly grateful to you and Dr. Roper for the vision that you've shown and the leadership, ensuring that we stay at the forefront of this really transformative new mode of transportation. I think as many talked about, the technologies that we're developing will really lay the groundwork for mobility over the coming century. They will drive societal productivity gains that have really haven't been seen in the last 100 years. And so very, very excited about that. Additionally, because these aircraft are so safe, quiet, and affordable, these will be accessible to everyone, and they'll have a very broad swath of missions, as we've heard many of the speakers talk about, and be able to really serve society in a multitude of ways. We've also heard about the impact that this will have on jobs, on manufacturing jobs here in the U.S. And we're just incredibly excited to be part of this program and to be really driving American innovation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jobin.
Yes, thanks, Kyle and Jobin, for joining us today. We look forward to working with you to find the home near Wright-Patterson in Ohio for not just your simulators, but for your companies as you continue to grow both those commercial and military applications that are so critical to what we're trying to do here with Agility Prime. Ohio, we've talked about it already, but I'll say, we've got that innovative workforce and that manufacturing base that will be key to propel your businesses and all the others involved into this global market. So with that, I would like to go ahead and get started with our first panel, which will be our Air Force panel. So as we have our folks come online here, I'd like to welcome General Steve Wilson, the United States Air Force Vice Chief of Staff, Dr. Will Roper, who's the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Acquisitions, Technology, and Logistics, and General Bunch, the AFMC Commander. All right, so it looks like we've got everyone on board. Hello, gentlemen. All right, well, General Wilson, I'm just going to get started with you. As the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force working with our Chief, you are driving innovation. The Air Force has always had a reputation since its inception for innovation. And so we're on the cutting edge. We have AFWERX, we've got AFVentures, and now we're actually talking about flying cars. Can you talk a little bit about what continues to drive the Air Force and tell us a little bit about why?
Yeah, so Elaine, thanks for doing this. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the Dayton Development Council for all that you're doing to help spur this innovation that's needed for our nation. If you look at what's gone on in our history, right? This innovation spirit has made our country what it is today, and I contend has to be part of what is going to take us into the future. If you look at the world right now, I call it an uber disruptive time, right? You look at the changes that are happening politically, economically, socially, and technologically, and that convergence of all of them right now. I say technology is this accelerator that's accelerating. But it's not just to the United States, it's happening globally, this transformative time with technology. So if we're going to be the country that we need to be, we need to continue this innovative spirit. And as Senator Brown said, as I was looking through the things that you just showed, good ideas don't happen here in Washington, right? They happen in places like Dayton. They happen on our flight line. They happen with these amazing airmen and being able to unleash their creativity to move us forward. And we have no better example than that than what's happening right now with Agility Prime. So all the technology that's required from the adaptive manufacturing, the aeronautics, the airworthiness, the composite materials, all that comes together with smart technology people, with people like AFWERX that can connect the commercial ventures out there, with the folks at the lab who've got this unbelievable smarts, and to remove the barriers to putting those together and having it with, as General Bunch would say, with speed and discipline. And I think that's why we need to continue to do these efforts. Why this, if we stagnate on the old, the world's going to pass us by. But I can contend that with this innovative spirit that exists in our Air Force, exists in communities like Dayton, we can continue to move not only our national defense forward, but our country forward.
Great. Well, thank you so much, John Wilson. So talking about moving this forward, Dr. Roper, question for you. Since you've come on board, you've been doing an amazing job of pushing the envelope when it comes to, some of the non-traditional approaches to acquisitions and moving technologies and weapon systems forward for the Air Force. But as you know, none of that happens, again, with what we talked about, the people. And in Ohio, as you know, and within Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, we have an amazing workforce. Our universities are unparalleled, and we've got that nationally recognized manufacturing base. Can you talk a little bit about, in order to drive, these pushes, what can companies, innovative companies like Joby and Beta, benefit from or expect from such an ecosystem here in the Wright-Patterson area in Ohio?
Elaine, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's joining. The first and foremost word in terms of expectations should be partnership. And that is where the government has missed the boat over the last 20 years. The system that I inherit, the one that you know very well from your time in service, has really not changed since the Cold War, where we were a purchaser, a procurer of technology, most of which we developed ourselves. In today's world, the U.S. military only represents 20% of our nation's research and development. And that's not because we've gotten even one iota worse. We're still as good as we've ever been. But technology is now cheap and ubiquitous, and so many people can participate in a global ecosystem. It's an exciting time to be alive, but as General Wilson says, it's also a scary time to be alive because this technology could have huge impacts on how the world evolves. And so to transition out of our Cold War model, we have to become a partner with innovation wherever it is, and not just purely military innovation. In the United States Air Force and Space Force, if there is a technology that's being built that's new and created and we can't find a military use for it, shame on us. Our mission spans amazing sectors of commercial tech, aerospace, cyber, things that you don't think about readily, like medical and energy, are also part of our portfolio. So shame on us if we don't find a use for any new technology that's going to change the world. And what we want to do is bring our military market, we are a market that obeys different rules. We pay different prices, we have different risk tolerance, we need quantities that are different than what commercial markets need. We have to make our military market a launch pad for commercial innovation. And if we don't, the military is going to miss out on opportunities, and markets will move and migrate and commercialize outside of any kind of overarching strategy. And that could end up being for our national security detriment and lack of economic competitiveness. So in the Dayton area, we have amazing partnerships already between the Air Force and industry, city government, state government, as well as the amazing people who work at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So what we want to bring to that winning team is a winning formula for partnering on commercial innovation, so that if your ambition is to create flying cars that are going to change the world, that we are your go-to innovation partner to get there. Because if we commercialize this market for our nation, not only are we helping future warfighters, because they're going to have access to a domestically produced vehicle, we're actually using our military market to make our nation more competitive. In today's ever-evolving landscape of technologies, every emerging market is a battlefield. And in the Air Force, we're going to start treating them like one.
That's great. Thanks, Dr. Roper. I definitely agree with the partnerships being key. And so with that, I'll turn to General Bunch, and I'm talking about partnerships. It's very exciting to talk about AFWERX having its new home within AFMC and AFRL, and the partnerships that are going to continue to grow there and work. Could you talk a little bit, General Bunch, about why AFMC is the right organization, and what opportunities do you see for AFWERX and the SBIR Center of Excellence and AFRL under this new structure?
So Elaine, thanks again. I'll echo the thanks of Dr. Roper and General Wilson for everybody that set this up and for everybody participating. This is really an interesting and an exciting time. I often talk about Air Force Materiel Command because we play such a critical role across the whole life cycle of any of the systems, platforms, and anything else that we basically buy, even down to our installations. We play such a critical role. I often talk about us being the most important major command in the Air Force if we're actually going to execute our mission and achieve what the Air Force needs. And that we actually, in this command, we execute our wartime mission every day. Merging AFWERX into that broad set of roles and responsibilities that we execute on behalf of the Air Force and teaming them with the professional airmen that we have, I believe makes it a perfect nesting place in this as we look at everything from research, development, all the acquisition, all the testing, all the sustainment, and everything we do to keep our installations running, bringing an innovative hub into that and tying it in with the professionals in all those areas gives it a unique perspective and should be able to help us as we try to move at the speed of relevance with technology, putting it out in the field, and execute those things with the appropriate amount of discipline, as General Wilson talked about, doing speed with discipline. I also think we bring a tradition of partnerships with industry and with academia and with other agencies that can also help this out as it comes in. And we've got the experts that can assist companies in areas they may not be as aware of, access to great test facilities, world-class, so that we can test and experiment and prototype and do a lot of those type of activities, expertise in airworthiness. So there are just a lot of benefits that come into the command really brings to this as we merge AFWERX into AFRL and we move forward.
Excellent. Thank you, General Bunch. And we're looking forward to continuing those partnerships with the command and the community and everything going on here. So we have, I think, a couple minutes for one more quick question, and I'm going to turn this one over to you, Dr. Roper, with COVID-19 really changing the landscape of our economy. I wonder if you could maybe comment on defense budgets and any cuts that you foresee that may impact an effort like Agility Prime.
It's a question that's on our mind, Elaine, because it is a time of uncertainty. And in the military, and particularly the Air Force and Space Force, we have to be prepared for anything. So we are working very closely with members of Congress to ensure they understand the importance of continuing to modernize our military, which provides that foundational bedrock on which we build the free and open society, markets, and sharing of ideas that have truly benefited the world since the end of World War II. We don't want to put that amazing marketplace of competing ideas, but where it's a fair competition at risk. So we want to continue that foundational work, but things like Agility Prime are things we must especially emphasize, where military spending is helping domestic competitiveness. That needs to not be innovation, Elaine. It needs to be imperative. It is imperative that the way we build our military build a better innovation base in this country, because that innovation base is what ultimately ensures that we stay in the driver's seat that we have enjoyed in the past. So you can count me in on continuing to carry that message to Congress, but I invite everyone who's participating, be vocal. Help us get the word out that we are changing the way that we work with industry. We are partnering. We're a partner in innovation wherever it occurs. And with AFWERX moving into AFMC, running market shifting programs like Agility Prime, running our AFVentures programs that works with tech startups, and continuing innovation at the flight line, we're in a good place to take what we've accomplished to the next level. We look forward to working with Ohio and the Dayton community to do that.
So Lane, can I pile on to that? Because Dr.
Absolutely, sir.
Dr. Roper hit the really important part about partnership. And what I see to keep us in this competitive forefront is the synergy between the labs out there and the world-class people we have there, with the academia and industry that's there, between our defense folks. It synergizes all that power and takes us to the next level. But it is this partnership, but we have to have this sense of urgency as a nation that all of us, and you started this, we're all in, right? We all have to be in this together with this sense of urgency to move us forward. And so I think we've got a great formula here at Dayton with all the right ingredients, and we bring them together and just clear the barriers for your success. Watch it go.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree. And echo it again. We are all in, and it takes a lot of partnerships. And we are thankful for our, congressional delegations. And as Dr. Roper asked folks online to continue to spread the word, we know that our elected officials will do so at all levels here, and hopefully across the country. Others will also be doing the same thing. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here, and thank you, General Wilson, Dr. Roper, General Bunch, for your time on this panel. We truly value your dedication to the Air Force and its mission, our national security, which is the bigger, broader picture, as you were mentioning, Dr. Roper, that it's not just about the Air Force mission, it's about our country's national security mission, and how do we ensure that security for the country. And this is just one step, because we know that there is more to come. It's not just about flying cars and orbs. There are other technologies out there, and we look forward to see what is next after Agility Prime. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Colonel Diller, to introduce our partners from Ohio. Nate, back to you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Elaine. I am delighted to introduce from the great state of Ohio, Joe Zeese. He is the Senior Advisor for Aerospace and Defense for the state of Ohio. He's joined by General Retired Lester Lyles, the former commander of the Air Force Materiel Command, as well as former Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and now on the Jobs Ohio board. And last, we have with us today, JP Nassif, President and CEO of Jobs Ohio. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your time and appreciate the virtual host. Sorely disappointed that we didn't have the chance to be there in person as we visited and established our new home with AFWERX there at AFRL. In any case, nice to have you here, and at least to be able to see your faces and look forward to the conversation on really the innovative work, the forward-leaning thinking that you have there in Ohio. And from that perspective, Joe, I'd like to begin with you as the advisor to the governor. Clearly, you understand the importance of this and have seen what this looks like going into the future. Can you elaborate a bit on some of the technical strengths of Ohio, talking about research and manufacturing sectors, and how those might be able to support Agility Prime from across the Fly Ohio initiatives, the Drive Ohio, that we've talked through a bit, letting others know a little bit about that. Before you get into that, though, I know you're an avid aviator. Can you tell me when you think you're going to take your first flight in a flying car?
As soon as possible, Nate. I'll tell you, as soon as absolutely possible. I suspect you'll be doing this. You'll be off the ground, with Agility Prime. I know your goals by the end of the year. And, you look at the commercialization opportunities of this. I mean, it's incredible how quickly this technology can come to play, both for military and civilian applications. Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready right now. You see some of the images of the cars that are in development, the flying cars that are in development, that are in experimentation, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Because as a former, military aviator, flyer now, in the civilian world, this is different. This is unique, right? This is the dream fulfilled, right? The ability to take off vertically, fly to a short distance location and land. This is that dream of every person's air vehicle. Right. And that's why it's so exciting to me. It's not a helicopter. It's not an airplane. It's fundamentally different. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of it. It really, really is. To your question, let me start by first of all, welcoming you and all of our senior leadership from the Air Force to this event on behalf of the governor of Ohio. Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted send their absolute best wishes to each of you and to all the participants, really, for a wonderfully successful event. As you've heard the phrase, Ohio's all in, we truly are. The support, the development of our military technologies, our installations, and our people, military, civilian, and the contractors. That's paramount to Governor DeWine. So this is absolutely critical. This is absolutely critical. I'll tell you, I think that Ohio, and by default as Ohio leads the nation, their nation has great strengths in the technologies that are critical to Agility Prime. I want to talk about three traditional areas of technological strength in Ohio, and then I want to actually highlight what I think are three critical partner relationships going forward to the success of this. In terms of the key technological areas where I think there is crucial strength for this. The first is materials, right? It's advanced materials and manufacturing technologies. Those form the basis, the absolute basis for an Agility Prime, an urban air mobility kind of concept, right? It calls for a light, a strong structure. Well, that's composites. It's advanced metallurgy. It's manufacturing technology. All things that are rooted at the materials directorate of the Air Force Research Lab, but then supported by a large university infrastructure that supports this kind of technology. Whether it's the University of Dayton Research Institute, Ohio State University, Youngstown State, manufacturing technology is key. Part of that is not only composites, advanced materials, but it's 3D printing, right? It's advanced manufacturing capabilities that allow one to rapidly and accurately develop a robust and integrated structure. Those are key areas of Ohio. They always have been in manufacturing and materials, and they continue to be. This is just the new frontier, right? The second area I would highlight is human performance and integration of the human into the system, whether on board or not, whether a passenger or not, and artificial intelligence. The human is integrated into the system, but there are control system implications into this. As an aeronautical engineer, automatic flight control systems were critical to me in my career. And you look now at 20 years past, and the advancement in automatic control systems, it's incredible to my mind, but it's also incredibly crucial to the success, right? It's the robustness, it's the safety that's inherent in the automatic control systems of today. And as the human is integrated into this, there are key relationships to bring to bear. Not only, of course, the Human Performance Directorate and the 711 Human Performance Wing of the Air Force Research Lab, the Cleveland Center for Human-Machine Interface, and NASA Glenn, who are actually key to the Urban Air Mobility Architecture program of NASA. The third key technology area I'll just touch on briefly is power and propulsion. Of course, AFRL's directorate there. Significant university research and battery technology, both in Southwest and Northeast Ohio. It's specifically a key industry in Northeast Ohio as they make some incredible transitions, also in the automotive industry. But I'll also remind you that a key partnership, a key exemplar of the university, the military, and the industry relationship is the General Electric Epicenter in Dayton, Ohio. Just to remind you, Epicenter, the EPIS stands for Electrical Power Integrated Systems Center. That's instructive in terms of the integration required to do this. I want to highlight three quick proximate relationships that are key. The first is sustainment. With my car, we talk about this in the context of a flying car. With my car, I can drive along. If I got a fender bender, if I get a ding in my bumper, I may be upset, but I'll just drive to the repair shop, get it done, and I'll keep driving, right? The question is, what are the airworthiness implications of a minor disruption to the a fender bender, if you will, to a flying car, right? Does that render it unairworthy? How does one repair? The presence of the Rapid Sustainment Office of Wright-Patterson offers a key proximate relationship to evaluating these kind of technological challenges and certification challenges that I think are key. Does it make it airworthy or not? The second relationship I'll talk to is the Airworthiness Directorate, right? It's the ability to certify a new type of vehicle. So as opposed to some of the challenges of certifying unmanned aeronautical vehicles, the UASs, the drones into the National Airspace System, This offers an opportunity to blend, to spiral develop the technology and the airworthiness, and I would add the operator, pilot, off-board pilot, operator. What are the certification requirements for both the air vehicle, but also for the operator? It's fundamentally challenging because this is not a helicopter. It's not a gyrocopter, right? It's a fundamentally different type of aircraft with control systems, with structure, redundancy, and autonomy considerations. This is where it's important. I think the feedback loop into Ohio's advanced research with the FAA, Kent State, with the next gen traffic management, with the FAA, and with NASA. It's absolutely great. The other one I'll talk to in terms of relationship, and that's we touched on it, is the advanced automated control systems evaluations. In other words, this is where Fly and Drive Ohio, where there's a huge interplay, and it's critical, because when a vehicle is operating in close proximity to people, then how do I structure a resilient control system that takes advantage of being protective of those who are in proximate location to the system? In other words, an obstacle pops up. Do I continue the vehicle direct into the obstacle? Do I go left into potentially hazarding one person, or right hazarding 5 people? What do I do? How do I structure ethical considerations into control laws of today? That's all a sensors and integration effort, and that's something Ohio's working with the Department of Transportation, with the 33 Smart Corridor, with the Smart City. The ground and the air autonomous control systems are highly integrated and highly linked, and this offers a tremendous opportunity to push cutting edge in this area. And I think that's why the FAA thinks and has established significant data centers and data clusters in Ohio. So this is an interesting opportunity to integrate technology and proximate relationships, as Dr. Roper mentioned. It's really all about a threefold value proposition in our mind. It's technology, collaboration, and proximity, right? It's proximity to design, test, certify a vehicle, and then to deploy. The key enabler, though, is the workforce, right? It's the university trained and educated and craftsman trained workforce that can not only execute Agility Prime, but then refresh itself as this industry grows. And I think it will grow at an amazing pace. So that's the value proposition. I'll tell you what, it's exciting to be a part of this with Ohio. Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted send their absolute best wishes. They're excited about this.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, really appreciate that. I'd like to switch over to you, General Lyles. Obviously, background in the Air Force, sitting on multiple panels as well across the interagency for government. And from that perspective, interested to see how you see both the state, local, and federal role in being able to create collaboration across government. As you know, with Agility Prime, we've had super support across NASA, across FAA, across other parts of government. It's fantastic to have it here with the state of Ohio and so many of the other state and locals out there. But with your particular advantage, how is it that the government can work collaboratively across this space to help drive down the cost, to help ensure that we have a competitive advantage in this particular sector?
Well, Nate, first for the record, let me mention I have lots of Ohio ties, having been a commander there at AFMC, General Bunch's seat, having served on several corporate boards, including Battelle in Columbus, Ohio, and now being on the board of Jobs Ohio. But I live here in Northern Virginia, so my virtual connection here is from just outside of Washington, D.C., not Ohio itself, but my heart is there in Ohio. Let me just go back very quickly, Nate, to your question to Joe Zeese. Joe is a former fighter pilot. He served as my exec, and all I have to say is I'm not going to be with him when he has his first flight in that air car. I'm going to wait until he gets perfected, and then I'll ride with him. But if you don't mind, Joe, thank you.
I'm in there with you, boss.
Okay. Nate, let me answer that question very, very simply. I'm not going to try to repeat all the great comments from the congressional delegation or from Dr. Roper or General Wilson or General Bunch and Joe talking about all the great capabilities in the state of Ohio. All I have to say is really the challenge, I think, in making sure that we leverage all of those great capabilities really comes down to 3 words: communicate, communicate, communicate. Really, all of the agencies have to really, really strive to communicate with each other, to learn about each other's capabilities, to talk to each other about their needs and their requirements, and to make sure that we all understand what people can bring to the picture, what they can bring to the fight. I think of NASA, since I chair NASA's advisory council, I know the kind of things that NASA is involved in relative to their aeronautics work. But I'm always surprised every time I have a review, like last week, of their aeronautics programs. They very seldom talk about things that they are doing with the Air Force or with other agencies, if you will. And getting people to talk to each other, to leverage the capabilities, leverage the resources, to me, is one of the biggest challenges. I'll be talking about this specific program to the NASA administrator later today. Likewise, dealing with all the capabilities in universities and institutions like that, there's a tremendous opportunity in Ohio, not just to address today's workforce, but to address the workforce of the future. As some of you know, Ohio has a STEM network, Ohio STEM Network, which is led by Battelle. It encompasses STEM activities in high schools throughout Ohio, but also Kentucky and other neighboring states. And they're preparing the workforce for the future. They need to be involved in this endeavor because they're going to be the young people who take Agility Prime, take this flying car really into the future, which is all what the vision is that we're trying to achieve. And then from a university perspective, I know one of the things that the Air Force leadership, General Dave Goldfein, the Chief of Staff, General Wilson, the Vice Chief, is very much interested in is stimulating diversity and inclusion, particularly working with historical Black colleges and universities. Most people don't realize just 20 miles east of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base are two historical Black colleges, Wilberforce University and Central State University. And I hope this program encompasses them too. So my real bottom line is there are lots of things to leverage here. It's a target-rich environment. The challenge is to communicate very widely and not just communicate and talking, but also listening to what people have so you can figure out how you can take advantage of them as part of this great, great endeavor.
Super, General, thanks so much. Those fantastic points. Clearly that communicating across that diversity of folks that are out there, those stakeholders, is certainly key. As we look at that diversity as well, when we begin to look across the state of Ohio, JP, I'd like to go over to you a little bit and hear a little bit about how Ohio, you think, really had the vision to establish this the industries of the future that are necessary for this, the opportunities that are there with the federal installations, different government laboratories, not just the Air Force, but across other research institutions, manufacturing, to be able to bring in this new business and really establish the infrastructure, the long-term supply chain that we need for this. So if you could give us a little thought on those matters.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and very much appreciate the opportunity to participate on this panel, in particular with the two outstanding mentors of mine, General Les Lyles and Colonel Joe Zeese, both with whom I worked directly for during my active duty days. So it's wonderful to be working with them again. So there's been a lot of information shared about the case that Ohio has and the technical capabilities, the workforce, the infrastructure. I think the way I would sum it up is to embark on these endeavors, a big picture, big vision, requires a committed partnership, a committed relationship, like a marriage and a family. And so I'd say the first, Ohio has the heritage of creation and innovation when it comes to flight and all the technical advances within aerospace and powered flight, but also with automotive. I think if you look at the state today, what you see is commitment expressed by starting with Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted, with the types of people they're surrounding themselves with and how they're prioritizing this partnership, this relationship they have with the Air Force, starting with the advisor that they picked to sit next to them and advise them on these issues, Colonel Joe Zeese, who not only is a retired uniformed serviceman person, but he has got a very specific type of knowledge and education that understands the work of the Air Force Materiel Command Enterprise and the unique knowledge of the assets in Ohio. And to grab a global resource, a global asset like General Lyles, to have the wisdom to ask him to be appointed on the Jobs Ohio board, but also the fact that General Lyles accepted that appointment shows his belief in what Ohio has to offer. And from a Jobs Ohio perspective, Jobs Ohio is Ohio's privatized economic development organization. Our resources for economic development are separate from government and tax dollars. Jobs Ohio has made it a priority to focus on these issues as part of extending and improving the family. And that family is Ohio, the workers here in Ohio, and our Air Force and military partners. So we're excited to make significant investments to support both the growth and needs in workforce as they exist today, and as you evolve them over time, as the threat changes and you evolve to meet the threat. The state of Ohio, Jobs Ohio, and you can see the advisor, the board members, the lead staff member are all in and committed to bringing those resources together in a significant way as we hopefully walk down this road with you together, just like we have in the past. And we're very excited about it.
Super. Well, Team Ohio, thanks so much for your time today. I'd like to bring Elaine back on for some closing comments from this fantastic team. Obviously, as you look at the energy that the pioneers in this industry have of JoeBen and Kyle, there are going to be eVTOLs, these flying orbs for states across our great nation, and it's exciting to see the energy that Ohio has. Elaine, over to you for some closing comments for this first hour before we transition over to where do we get money for research. Thanks, Elaine.
Excellent. Thanks, Nate. And thanks to all our panelists on the Air Force and, of course, our Ohio team. This has been a great experience, and I hope for all of you watching and interested in, how do we partner? How do we do these things? Please know that, as Nate mentioned, there's other states across the country, but I hope this leaves you no doubt that Ohio is all in, and that we are willing to invest and have the resources to make this a reality, not just for folks, not just for Joby and Beta, as we talked about today, but for all those interested in growing and making this their home for their company as we embark on Agility Prime for our country. And with that, thank you all, and we'll see you on the next hour. Nate?
Excellent. Elaine, thanks for joining us. And thanks to all in this very quick, action-packed hour as we saw leaders in industry, leaders in government, leaders at the state and local level. What we want to do now is transition over in the second hour to what exactly is AFWERX and Agility Prime doing to turn the fantastic vision that was communicated into action. And so that is what we look to do here now for the second hour. As we do that, a little bit of a preview. I want to talk at first this transition that's been alluded to between AFWERX and Agility Prime. We'll talk then some of the specifics associated with the other parts of Agility, the other parts of AFWERX beyond Agility Prime, the Airmen empowerment piece, the AFVentures piece. From there, we'll go into some of the very specifics about how we are looking in this small business technology transfer program to bring in a variety of different partnerships across university and small business. And in fact, there are opportunities as well for large business. And so we're talking some detail. What does it take to have a proposal that's ready by the 10th of August? So time is running out. It is time to start putting these together. How do we get that proposal together? So we'll have Jared Evans here to talk through that. And then finally, we're going to talk with our partners in the Air Force Research Laboratory, SBIR Center of Excellence, with David Shahady, as he talks, what is this path where they've been able to award in less than a year, since the 1st of October, over 1,000 contracts to the small businesses out there that are currently the engine behind this innovation. And finally, before we go to that, we have right at 200 companies, different companies for service, hardware, different stakeholders across this eVTOL community. Stakeholders that have come together based on a relationship that Agility Prime has with NASA to look at this supply chain. And so we're going to give you an entailed discussion of how you can, over the next 4 hours this afternoon, go explore those 200 different companies out there that are really providing the fuel for these manufacturers, providing the subcomponents. So with that, I'll go and kind of talk just at the beginning here of what we have looked to do in the Air Force to make sure that we can turn that vision into reality. And so we'll talk briefly through this merger that you've heard of AFWERX. And what is AFWERX? Well, as General Wilson had mentioned, there's kind of this experiment that started. How can the Air Force make sure that we are getting access to the most innovative ideas out there, those concepts that are out there, the most innovative technologies that are out there, and eventually turning that into capability? And so AFWERX just recently has been combined multiple of these experiments into one AFWERX now. And that one AFWERX has a charter to go be a non-traditional capability development organization to make sure that we are bringing forward some of those best ideas, those concepts, and turning it into capability. So let's spend a little bit of time what that looks like. When we think about technologies, when we heard Dr. Roper and General Wilson and General Bunch speak to where we are today in America, where we are today globally, there's this understanding that commercial technology is moving forward at an absolutely unbelievable pace. And how do we make sure that we are keeping pace with that technology? And this is where AFVentures is going out, and as opposed to going and looking directly just for an ability to do research and development and build these technologies, you'll notice that in Agility Prime, for example, we have a pretty limited approach to research and development. We instead are looking to de-risk in other areas. So this technology piece is out there, but a critical part that we are very aware of beyond this technology is making sure that if you have that technology and you don't have the fantastic ideas of airmen, if we don't have airmen that are empowered to turn that technology into a capability, if we can't reach out across the entire spectrum of our airmen, from the youngest folks that are out there at the lowest ranks, all the way up to the 4-star generals that you saw, and make sure that the best ideas are coming forward, then we're not going to be able to turn that technology into a capability. And so we have what we have is the traditional AFWERX that has been doing phenomenal things with challenges, with spark cells, with the different innovation hubs across America. And now they are in this Airmen Empowerment Division. And so you get to hear from them of how they're taking those ideas. And then finally, if you have that technology and those concepts aligned, how do we make sure that there is actually a transition into a capability that can endure, that can enter this complex system, right? It's intentionally complex because we are doing some of the most critical things. We're taking the taxpayer dollars, their treasure, and turning it into capability for our operators in the military. And there are a few things that are more complex than that. That said, we're looking at new ways of improving processes so that we can bring that capability in faster. And so what you see here is this vision of one AFWERX now joined together with AFVentures, with Airmen Empowerment, and with these transition programs with Agility Prime being the first of those pathfinders of many more programs that will be coming forward. And so we'll have the folks in each of those divisions talk to what that looks like going forward. As we look a minute, just what is that? What does it mean from an airman empowerment side? This is going and looking across the full spectrum. So this is bringing those ideas, and we literally are looking across the board. As an example, the Civil Air Patrol has launched this Agility Prime effort where the cadets, right, our youngest airmen are able to go out and through the Civil Air Patrol bring their greatest ideas forward. You can go to civilairpatrol.com, the cadet programs and activities, and click on Agility Prime, and you'll get to see that out there today. That is one of many programs where we are looking to go across the entire spectrum of our airmen and make sure that the best ideas are coming forward. And we'll talk about a very exciting event that's coming up, Fusion, at the end of the month, that you won't want to miss, that is really taking a year bringing all those ideas together in a very innovative way. What is the other piece that we're doing? We mentioned that from Agility Prime perspective, we are looking largely at manufacturers, and I'll talk about the progress that we've made since the launch. We've looked at those manufacturers primarily, and we've looked primarily across our spectrum of research, development, test, and evaluation. Our primary strategy is to look at putting funding in test and evaluation of those vehicles that are out there flying. And that goes in line with what the AFVentures team has done. But the other part of AFVentures is where do we reach out across these technologies of the future? And so you see these fantastic technologies of the future, like autonomy, like advanced materials manufacturing. Today, we are launching this small business technology transfer program where these small businesses, as you'll hear from Jared momentarily, are partnering with universities, with research organizations for research and development funding under the Agility Prime program, under the AFWERX program, in partnership with the SBIR Center of Excellence under the Air Force Research Laboratory, to look at this spectrum of technologies and understand how we can quickly bring those technologies across, transition those technologies. And what we've done today is bring in some 200 companies, universities, and different service organizations that are excited across America to take these types of technologies, these technologies of the future, and ensure they're
Can you make sure it doesn't go deaf? I plugged in the iPad. I don't think it will, but I just want to make sure. I'm stupid, but I think if we're good for 30 seconds. Did it go quiet? Why did that happen?
into a capability. And that capability for us are these amazing manufacturers that are out there. You can see the partners that we have that have been going through our areas of interest and see how the Air Force in a 2023 fielding of these capabilities. And these are the first. We are expecting and have heard from a variety of fast followers as we look across the spectrum of the capability that's out there and making sure that the universities have a way of tying technologies in, that our researchers are bringing the best technologies forward as quickly as possible to these manufacturers. And as we do this, then we are looking to see, how do we make sure that this is not just talk? How do we make sure that there's forward progress happening? And so what has that forward progress been? Since our launch, we've had over 15 submissions to this innovative capabilities opening, this air race to certification. And you can see there's 6 that have competed for this first area of interest with a 3 to 8 passenger. You can see the ranges and speeds. There's 5 that have participated in the area of interest 2, the 1 to 2 passengers, and then 3 in this area of interest 3. So out of those 5 of them, of these applicants have gone through phase 2. 2 have been selected for this phase 3, with several others well on their way. They have 8 different small business performers that are out there, with them focusing on now across the spectrum, whether you are a manufacturer or whether you are one of these subcomponents, looking now at this open topic that was released on the 10th of July, looking for you to apply now and join us as part of AFWERX. Besides joining as a technologist that's out there, we in AFWERX are going to be hiring very soon. So I ask you, if you're interested in being part of one of the most innovative organizations in the world today, please reach out to us at AFWERX. We are looking to hire more innovators to make sure that we're finding the best technologies out there. We're finding the best ideas to empower airmen and bringing that capability forward, a capability not just for our military, but a capability across our commercial industries. So next, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Bean Mao to talk about the opportunities moving forward with this airman empowerment, and how with this airman empowerment, very near-term opportunities with fusion and opportunities to ensure we're bringing our best ideas forward to industry, so you understand our interests and you're able to turn those concepts combined with these ideas into fantastic technologies. Bean, over to you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon now.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much, Colonel Diller. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and to our West Coast friends, good morning. Thank you for joining us, and I'm going to very briefly cover with you a beautiful story with regard to what is now known as the Airmen Empowerment Division of AFWERX. So AFWERX, when we were given our first direction by the Vice Chief of Staff, General Wilson, in 2017, his direction was simple: drive innovation to secure our future. And so we've been examining from Sun Tzu to Silicon Valley, from Herodotus to Hap Arnold, the various different ways that you can create an alternative reality with an innovative mindset and an innovative system. And for airman empowerment, we really have three basic phases. First, we need to uncover the idea. Then in our second phase, we need to connect it with some real options. Our third phase, it's great if we can develop a prototype, but still, we now need to turn it into a purchase or a program of record to help our Air Force brothers and sisters. So with that concept in mind, we wanted to then work towards segmenting it out in a way that would make sense that we could describe to other people. And if you think of uncovering an idea, kind of creates the demand where you're like, this is something I want to pursue. And so as we looked at the different systems out there, suddenly it became apparent to us that what AFWERX was doing within our Air Force enterprise and the larger innovation ecosystem out there was creating a demand and a supply system. And then ultimately with the prototypes created, we want to be able to go from bridging from prototype status to a program of record status. So if you were to look at airman empowerment, see here along the demand side column, you would see things you may have already tuned in for one of our Spark Tanks that looks like Shark Tank. We have innovation cells at the base level that we're up to over 70 innovation offices within our base levels that help develop things at the airman level, at the flight line level. We have over 40,000 airmen connected with our virtual so that we can do collaborative innovations anywhere, anytime. And then also at the major command or senior leader level, we have all these inputs of these are the demands of innovation. How can we help fix that? That takes us to our supply side, where you'll find our innovation hubs or the various website challenges that we have, as well as a host of allies that we can count on to work with and collaborate with to make these alternative realities come to life. Then we always need to have an agile acquisition strategy in mind, as well as how can we help facilitate our airmen? How can we empower our airmen so that they can create the alternate realities that they need? Now, if this was the original build out that we've had since Vice Chief Wilson gave us that drive in 2017, you ask, what is the new expanded AFWERX, our merged AFWERX? What does it look like? Well, it looks like greater opportunity, right? If we go to the demand side, you've heard already from Vidoff the different things with ventures. They have an open supply and demand system, but I don't want to take away from Major Rathke's talk, so I'll leave it there. We have, as Vidoff said, the Agility Prime Pathfinders, key things. Where are their demands and what can we do to help with that? Now, we sit underneath General Bunch, General Pringle at the Air Force Research Lab, and so we're going to be able to reach into a larger tech directorate, not only to learn from them, but also be able to assist them with our different connectivities. We're very excited about that. And in conjunction with AFWERX, the contracting side of the Air Force has been expanding, and now under General Holt and Lieutenant Colonel Jorge Manresa, there is an entire acquisition corps starting to get built out in the ways of getting that rapid X marks the spot, X signature on a contract. So we're very excited about the future and how AFWERX is growing and expanding in opportunity and to create alternate realities. The best way that you can first connect with us is simply to go to www.afwerx.af.mil, and you'll get a broad thing of what this looks like in action. But the question of the afternoon then is, what do you get when you cross Elvis with a 5G network, reverse engineering, and culture change capabilities? Answer: you get our base of the future challenge. If you go, ladies and gentlemen, to www.afwerxfusion.com, right down here, you will find an opportunity to link in to July 28th through the 30th, a virtual collaboration event like no other. Yes, we're going to innovate. Yes, we're going to educate. And they are super important and super interesting topics. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, being hosted out of our Vegas hub, which means that there's going to be some excitement. And there's definitely going to be entertainment. You're going to see cameo appearances from Elvis and a whole host of other items that I'm not allowed to reveal at this point in time. But whether you start off initially thinking that it's just going to be interesting background noise, we guarantee you something both educational and engaging for your time. So we hope that you will come join us and build an alternate reality of the future by coming with us to the base of the future. Once again, AFWERXfusion.com. That's it from the Airman Empowerment side. Vidoff, back to you.
Super. Thanks so much, Beam. Next up, we have the the Air Force Venture side, fresh out of Stanford PhD program. We got Jason Ratchey here, who is leading up this phenomenal effort. When you look across the role that AFWERX has to do the program management, there's a portfolio of just under $1 billion a year that we are looking to make sure we are making that investment in the right place with the right folks that are out there, and leading that effort is Jason Ratchey. Jason, over to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to everyone who's on the line. Very excited to discuss AFWERX with a whole host of individuals who may not have had the opportunity to work with us in the past. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I'm just going to go ahead and explain what we do and go over some opportunities to partner with us. And then immediately following my discussion today, I'm going to hand it over to Jared Evans, who leads our STTR portfolio, who's going to be able to talk specifically about an opportunity that we have ongoing right now that we're really excited about partnering with our industry and research institution partners on. So what is AFWERX? AFWERX is a division of AFWERX, but really AFWERX serves as the department's commercial investment arm. Our mission at AFWERX is to leverage commercial technology to deliver better capability to the warfighter faster. We do that through a number of investment vehicles. The one that I'm going to be highlighting today is our SBIR and STTR, which is the Small Business Technology Transfer Program, open topic entry points, which is really targeting small businesses and startups who are interested in learning more about the Air Force marketplace, understanding how their commercially focused development products might be able to be used in a dual use fashion when they look at how might they be able to sell into the Air Force. But really we operate in what we try to make a simple, easy to use process through what we call the common front door approach. So the AFWERX application process, if you will, or learning how you partner with us, all goes through what we call the open topic. And that open topic releases solicitations every 4 months that are available. One's available right now, specifically related to Agility Prime, where companies can go in and pitch a 15-page or a 5-page technical white paper and a 15-slide slide deck. Through that effort, we'll quickly be able to identify potential customers that your company might be able to pitch to, and then scale those investments in your company based upon your ability to find and secure traction. And so when we talk about Agility Prime, for example, we've already made a handful of investments in different companies that have had serious traction within the Agility Prime program office. And so we hope to continue our work with Agility Prime and other programs throughout the Air Force. To date, we've invested in over 1,300 companies. All of them we consider our portfolio companies. And we've done a significant amount of private capital raise for the companies that we've worked with. In fact, for every $1 that we've invested into a company, they've also received, on average, $3 in private capital and $2 in other government funding. And what we try to do with AFWERX is align incentives between what the Air Force is looking for out of companies and what the commercial market is looking for. And really the success of AFWERX isn't because AFWERX is a relatively new program. It's actually been around for the last 2 years. If you've worked with AFWERX and the SBIR Center of Excellence through the Open Topic program in the past, it's that same program, just with a new name and an expanded mission set. So what we're seeking to do with AFWERX is help companies grow, help them grow into the Air Force marketplace by aligning their development efforts that they're focused traditionally in the commercial sector with what the Air Force needs are both today and tomorrow. Before I hand it off, I do want to mention that AFWERX will be also hiring relatively soon, along with the rest of AFWERX, and we're really excited about the growth of AFWERX. There's a number of other opportunities that are still in the works today that I'm not quite ready to announce in this forum, but we're very excited to bring to bear for commercial partners and future investors. So with that, sir, back over to you.
Super. Jason, thanks for everything you're doing there. Go over now to Jared Evans. And as we mentioned, one of our primary objectives for this hour is making sure that all of you out there ready to do that fantastic research and development are in a position to apply for this open topic now, focused on Agility Prime, but other options out there. And to walk you through that process, our program manager for the STTR program, Jared, over to you. Thanks for joining us here. Jared, your mic is still muted there.
One more time. How's this?
You're in. Excellent. Thank you.
Excellent. So what I was saying was thank you so much for the introduction, and I appreciate the introduction from Jason as well, and the rest of the itinerary here leading up to this event. There's been a ton of work that goes into the planning, and I just want to make sure that we give those folks credit for all the amazing work that they've done so far in keeping this straight. And I just lost my screen share. Can you confirm it is still up?
No, we lost it as well. If you give it another try there, Jared.
All right.
There you are.
All right, let's try this one more time.
Looking good.
So the itinerary so far has talked a lot about partnerships, right? The fact that we want to work together, right? And ultimately that we're stronger together in terms of organizations, as people, and as a society as well. And, we look at that from a variety of different lenses, not only on the Air Force side in working together with the operational communities, the R&D communities, in the federal government, working with partners like NASA and the FAA, but as also we want to make sure we tie in to the external ecosystem as far as the defense community is concerned, tying in directly with academia and business and all of the amazing work that's going on in the commercial sector as well. And the STTR program, specifically the open topic, is really an amazing way of doing that, right? It boils down the intent of partnering and really gives the Air Force and the federal government writ large the opportunity and the tools to really invest in a focused and deliberate manner. So we're going to talk about a little bit of background on the STTR program specifically, and then we're going to dive into the X-20 Delta or X-20D solicitation that is currently open in support of the Agility Prime initiative. So with that, we're going to, we'll jump in. We'll try click instead. There we go. So the STTR program writ large is a 3-phase development program that is intended to commercialize dual-use research, right? There's a lot of similarities between the STTR program and the SBIR program. STTR program has some very value-added niches that we'll talk about here in just a moment, but the intent is largely the same. Ultimately, we want to be your customer. We, the Air Force, want to be able to buy and procure things from the small business community and give them an opportunity to succeed not only in the commercial sector, but also the defense sector as well. Through the program, right, as we get from here to there, we want to facilitate engagement not only with you and your partners on the commercial side, but also with the defense ecosystem as well, that Bean talked about a little bit earlier. And through the funding mechanisms that we have, we want to leverage these contracts and solicitations to buy down technology risk for you and your solutions, ultimately fostering commercial success. So again, at the end of the day, we're able to purchase your technology and products from you directly. An important note here is that historically we've talked about STTR and SBIR as grants. It's very important that we address these as government contracts, and that brings along a lot of benefits for the program later on. So similar to SBIR, STTR is a three-phase commercialization program. It talks about has a discover portion, a prototype portion in phase 2, and ultimately a transition portion in phase 3. And at the end of the day, it results in a sole source justification that the company can use for all U.S. federal agencies. So this is not just Department of the Air Force, right? It's not just the Air Force, it's not just Space Force, it's not just the Defense Department. These are direct sole source justifications that can be used across the entirety of the federal government. Specifically, STTR does not require an already commercialized product as SBIR does, right? So it can be completely pre-seed and pre-sales. One of the main tenets of the STTR program, again, is that partnership, specifically with a qualifying research institution. We'll talk about the definition on the next slide, just briefly, but it includes universities, certainly. It also includes nonprofit entrepreneurship centers, FFRDCs, which are federally funded research and development centers, and it can include other nonprofit entities like hospitals and things as well. The principal investigator, the PI, may be employed not only by the small business, as you may expect with a small business program, but also with the research institution. So those with a higher opportunity cost, a tenured professor or something similar, can go through, make their small business, come through this program, receive a phase 1, phase 2, potentially a StratFi award, all while still being primarily employed at the research institution in this particular case, and not have to give up their high opportunity cost position to participate in the program. And through the commercial solutions offering that we solicit through the open topic here, we leverage the close ties not only with the federal R&D community, which is really impressive in and of itself, but also the entirety of the rest of the Air Force, the operational communities, special operations, flight operations, etc. So by working through this open topic and working through these contracting tools that we have, we're able to really engage completely not only the commercial sector with the small businesses, but also the entirety of the Air Force, that is to say the Department of the Air Force as well. So there's a lot of words on this slide. This is just the straight definition of a research institution as pulled out of the policy directive, as you can see there in the bottom. This is more for reference, but again, the point here is that it's not just universities who can participate in this, right? Entrepreneurship centers, FFRDCs, as we mentioned before, all have opportunities to participate in this program through the small business community. Ultimately, the small business is required to come to the table with this partnership already established, but opportunities such as this afternoon's trade show give you a chance to kind of network around, find organizations that meet your needs as a small business, and give you a starting point to craft your proposal that we'll talk to you about here in just a moment. All right, so that was kind of the general overview about the STTR program, and we're going to start talking a bit more specifically about this open topic, the X20D solicitation. First of all, it's open to any eligible small business. When you read the solicitation, we have a list of technology areas that we know we need, right? When you go to the grocery store, there's a few things that you know right off the bat that you're going to need to pick up, right? But along the way, there's things that maybe you forgot, maybe that you didn't even know existed there in the store, as it were, right? This is where the open topic really shines, because you don't have to wait for us to ask for you and your technology specifically, right? You can come through this process, this open topic, and jump into this program without having to have somebody come and find you, recognize your value, and then ask for you specifically. This open topic is for a phase 1 contract. So there's separate instructions that come out for each separate phase. So one thing that comes up every so often is that, hey, I have to put in a proposal for the entirety of the pipeline. And so that's not the case. What we're looking for in this solicitation is simply for the phase 1 portion of this program. The maximum contract value is $150K, and the maximum contract length is 6 months. So if you come into the table with a 9-month contract length or a $1.5 million valuation for the proposal, right? We're gonna have to do some work to kind of get back to where we need to be, if we're able to do that at all. So it's very important to read the solicitation and make sure that what you're proposing falls within the bounds of what we're looking for here. All right. So there's a few non-negotiables that come in with government contracts specifically. First of all, eligibility, right? You have to be a qualifying registered small business and propose a phase 1 effort, again, with a qualifying research institution subcontractor, right? Those are different ways of saying something, many of the things that we've said just a few minutes ago, but it's important to reiterate. We're not going to be able to award a contract if those things, each one of those boxes are checked. One of the things that questions that we get fairly regularly is if, can we have more than one subcontractor? Can we have more than one partner in this effort? Absolutely, you certainly can. One, to meet the eligibility criteria of the program, one of those must meet the qualifying research institution definitions and be above, at or above that 30% threshold. All proposals need to be submitted through the DSIP system. Obviously, it would not be an envious job to have to field all these over email, and certainly we're not able to, right, legally or contractually. So you have to go through the system to submit your proposal. The efforts that you're providing or proposing, must be RD-T&E activities, right? We're not talking about straight services or procurement, right? It needs to have elements of RD-T&E mixed through. Usually that's not too much of an issue for STTR, especially being tends to be an earlier stage program, but it's worth repeating. Also, as you'll note in the solicitation itself, there is a mandatory fraud, waste, and abuse training that has to be completed as part of the proposal, a complete proposal. Ultimately, proposals not meeting any of the above points, they simply won't get to be evaluated, right? And that's not what we want to be. So part of this briefing and part of this communication with you all is to make sure that you know what is required and you have the opportunity to comply with the requirements in order to get a contract award later on in the process. With Agility Prime, certainly there's a focus on electric vertical takeoff and landing and other UAS relevant technologies. One of the things that's important to note with DoD contracts is the UAS procurement and operations requirements here. So the large kind of block of text there in the middle of the slide is a straight copy and paste from the solicitation. So I'm not going to read that directly to you. The point here is that you need to understand that there are waivers that you need to have in order to operate UASs as part of department contracts. We can help you through that process, but you need to make sure it's accounted for in the proposal and the timelines associated. If you're planning on operating or procuring UASs as part of your phase 1 specifically, you should allocate about 45 to 60 days for that process. The evaluation criteria, specifically the technical evaluation criteria, right? We look at 3 specific areas, right? Commercialization, defense need, and the technical and team aspect of this. Commercialization is simply the demonstrating your understanding of the commercial space and where your product fits there. That's knowledge of the market, knowledge of your environment in terms of integration and that kind of thing as well. And you can speak to this through external work that you're doing, as well as investment from or other types of external interest from the commercial sector. Defense need is a similar point, but on the defense side of things. So understanding your application on the defense side, right? How your defense variant, product variant looks like in comparison to the commercial variant, and then where's that based in terms of their need, the defense need for your product. You can speak to this through the relevance to the Agility Prime effort, as well as other Air Force users, right? But simply saying we will work with Agility Prime is not good enough, right? You really do need to demonstrate understanding of your audience and understanding of the defense market, the marketplace in terms of your product and where you fit in the larger ecosystem. Number 3, last but not least, the technical and team aspect, right? This is in other words, a look at your technical risk, right? This is a pre-seed, pre-sales type of early stage program. We understand that there's going to be technical risk. right? We simply need to make sure that, one, you understand where those areas are and that you have a plan to mitigate those over time, right? You can mitigate those not only with the processes and your plans for maturing, but also the team members, the partnerships that you're bringing to the table, and all the different aspects of your proposal. Certainly, a lab demo or a prototype or product is better than a simple idea, but there's no restriction on the maturity or TRL level of your technology or solution. All right, the negotiables, right? This is where you go from an eligible proposal to a good proposal, right? Ultimately, you have to know your technology or product, right? You have to know your environment, understanding the risk areas, both technical and integration, and the subsequent mitigation plans, all speak to this. Ultimately, experience is better than words, right? Demonstrations, actual interaction, engagement with the DoD force are all better than just talking about it. Now, certainly that's not a disqualification. Again, this is a difference between an eligible proposal and a really good competitive proposal. Secondly, communicating effectively, right? Accuracy and brevity are both imperative, right? Your proposal is going to be seen by a number of different people, right? Technical evaluators, contracting folks, the legal teams, etc. And so you have to make sure that what you're saying is not always left up to interpretation, right? Be clear and be concise. You want to make sure you hit on this in a couple particular areas. First of all, your value proposition. Why is this better than what we're doing? Why should we care, right? That's what it boils down to. Who's on your team and why? Are they there because they believe in your product? Are they there because they're there to support you and provide services later on? All these points kind of carry into this communicating effectively. And at the end of the day, you want to speak directly to the evaluation criteria that we talked about just a moment ago. There's not a whole lot of value on our end to have to figure out what you want to say, right? Being clear and concise, specifically with each of the evaluation criteria, makes things easier on us and ultimately easier on you as well. So all of that wrapped up, what's next? You can check out all the resources on the Agility Prime Team Up website. We have links to the official solicitation, which you should most definitely be very familiar with. We have templates for the tech volumes and the slides and things. We have reference presentations, including this one, will be posted as well. And then obviously, we'll also have a booth this afternoon that you can come and visit, and we can talk about the process and go from there. As Colonel Diller mentioned a little earlier, the proposals are due but no later than 2 p.m. Eastern through the DSIP system on Monday, August 10th. And we look forward to seeing your proposals and working with you in the future. With that, we'll turn it back over to Colonel Diller.
Super. Thanks a lot, Jared. And just for everyone's information, you should be able to find Jared and his counterparts in the virtual booths that'll be kicking off here in just 20 minutes. They'll be there available to answer questions about this process, a process that has been refined in multiple different ways by our next presenter, Dave Shahady, with the he's with the SBIR Center of Excellence under the Air Force Research Laboratory. This is the organization that over the last year has awarded over 1,000 contracts. David, thanks for the work that your team has done. Thanks for being with us here today, and appreciate any comments that you have on what these different companies, research institutions can do to make sure that they are successful as they are approaching, maybe for the first time, their chance to work with government, and the great things that this partnership with AFWERX and the SBIR COE can do going forward to make sure that is a painless process, a fantastic process that we are, as the leadership in the first hour said, the best partners if you're going to go forward and create the world's greatest technologies. David, thanks for joining us. Over to you.
Oh, thank you, Colonel Diller. It's a pleasure to be here. A pleasure to talk to folks. It's an honor to be somewhat the fuel in the engine that is making this new AFWERX initiatives and this and many of the initiatives actually work. So, as you see this very elaborate program, there are many aspects of it that are crucial and important, and it's very exciting to be part of that. One of the things that I guess I wanted to talk about is, it's a long-standing program, the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Program, and the Small Business Technology Transfer Program are congressional programs. They started way back in 1985, believe it or not, and they are developed really about building up the industry base, really creating a incubator per se, or the America's Seed Fund is what they refer to, for industry and small businesses working with the government, Department of Energy, the National Science Foundation, and of course the Department of Defense all utilize the SBIR program. So that it's got a long-standing program, and it is truly some fuel. So a lot of times people ask, why am I, what benefit do I have for this? And there's really several benefits. One, this is an opportunity for you all as small businesses to actually gain revenue and gain traction as far as developing and delivering products to the DoD and to the other government entities. So that is one of the super strong benefits of the program. So as you lean forward and you look at not only the solicitations that are going out within the Air Force and within Air Force AFWERX, but those same applications can be, those same tools and things that you're developing, same products are applicable to other services and to other departments in the government. So you're becoming part of not only the Air Force's ecosystem, but the overall government ecosystem. So as you develop a strategy, I think it's always important to think big and think about, okay, not only what can I do to satisfy these requirements in this strategy, but where are my other market areas? It's something that's very, very difficult, I think, for a lot of companies. They're used to, here's a task by the military and you do it. But what we're actually doing is truly trying to establish a partnership. And the AFWERX team has developed a very successful model in which developing that partnership does three things, right? It brings you as an innovator in touch with the warfighter, in touch with a user who's actually going to use your system. And then number two, it connects you with somebody that's a buyer, whether the buyer is inside the government or whether the buyer is somebody outside the government. It puts those two things together. And by merging all three of those, we actually create a foundation for a very successful company. I think one of the things that you as small businesses and as universities and not-for-profits need to understand is we actually gain the most benefit by your organizations becoming successful. So it's one of those where it is traditionally not thought of that we talk about profits in the government, but we do that. We look at a company and we want to see you become profitable. So very, very important. And so economic benefit to you all is essential to us as well. Not only are we looking for companies that are new starts, that are wanting to spin out and become things. We're looking for established small businesses that have, long-standing traditions with the Air Force. We're also looking for folks that have done things with other organizations. We're looking for companies that have done great things in the commercial market and have said, hey, I'm going to try to lean into and do something for the Department of Defense. All of those organizations, again, huge value to our overall ecosystem. And the last piece of this is really about speed. And one of the things that Dr. Roper and the other leaders of the Air Force have emphasized for us is the need for speed, the need for the organization to have a speedy solution, a speedy research, and also a speedy path through what is traditionally a very government bureaucratic process. And so the things that AFWERX has done in combination with our Center of Excellence is look for ways to streamline that. And it's been a roller coaster ride of looking at what works and what doesn't work. And we've come to the conclusion that we can never rest on our laurels, that it's that there's not going to always be one way of doing everything. And we're constantly going to have to adjust that speed. But we as the government want small businesses to understand that we understand your need for cash flow, your need for stability, and your need to build that. And we want to try to do that not only with our contracting, with our finance, with our operations, with our infrastructure, all the different aspects and kind of the foundations of the SBIR program and the STTR program, but also understanding that we have to provide those things, those foundations to you as well. And so there's a constant commitment on the part of the program for constant improvement, a constant vigilance to being able to look at things, more streamlined. We've entered a new era of the program. We've never had this volume of interest. We've never had this volume of programs or projects being awarded, and the program is up to that challenge. So, I want to close with, who are we reaching out to and who are we talking to? And one of those is if you're you're someone in a university right now and you've been doing research and you have great ideas and great things within the university, we challenge you to partner up with a small business out there that is interested in pursuing something like what we have going on with Agility Prime and develop a proposal that could address us. We're also challenging those of you in the university that might be sitting on a tremendous idea and trying to decide, am I going to, go out into industry or am I going to start your own business? That you may want to consider starting your own business. This is a great opportunity to do that. What the STTR program does is it allows you to not only reach out and, leave the business, leave the university and start up a small business, but it lets you continue to maintain your ties back to that university and to have that partnership with them. And then the third one is if you're a small business out there with a tremendous idea or tremendous concept and you're looking for some supreme intellectual power to put behind you, this is a great opportunity to partner with one of those not-for-profits or a university and pull those in. So all those different aspects of the program, all very, very important to the overall success. I guess the last thing I wanted to mention is that, Jared and the other folks, they talk about a lot of, things, checks and balances, things that need to be done within the system. And it's just really important that you go through that and you build up a proposal and a package that best addresses those as you can. And we're always looking for opportunities and ways to try to have maximum inclusion. But unfortunately, there are always some there's some guidelines, there's some things that we have to follow, and we're doing everything and anything to try to work within organizations to get those things, get contracts awarded. Everything, one size doesn't fit all. But the more we can actually do up front, the more communication and collaboration you can do, not only with AFWERX, but with the other partners to make sure that you're hitting and checking all those boxes, the better off you're going to be. I think this is a tremendous opportunity. Again, I too am ecstatic to see what the Agility Prime program is doing as the fuel and engine behind making this thing happen. It is exceptionally exciting to see this type of a program soar, and that the power that the AFWERX program is actually bringing to a technology like this, and the value proposition, both for the military, both for economic benefit, and the speed to delivery. And it's a tremendous honor, and we are really looking forward to seeing all of the organizations come in to not only deliver a product, but to succeed in this very competitive business market.
David, thanks so much. Really appreciate the time. Really appreciate the many late nights that your team puts into making sure that we are moving with speed, making sure that we are doing it in a way that keeps credibility to the system, the intent of this fantastic opportunity that Congress has given us through the Small Business Administration to go out and provide that seed funding to our nation's greatest innovators. Looking forward to that. And speaking of those great innovators, I'd like to transition over now for a quick run through what we have in store for the afternoon. We have 200 different companies that are out there with booths. We want to give you a chance here in just a few moments. There's already fantastic connections being made. One of our intents on this is to develop the ecosystem, even over the chat that's been happening next to the YouTube. Those connections happening, but now we're going to dig in. First, we are teaming up with NASA, as you can see here, to look at this ecosystem and give a few minutes to walk through how you can explore both this afternoon and tomorrow morning this advanced air mobility ecosystem that puts us in a place to be able to fly orbs into this next era of aerospace. To walk us through that, I'm going to switch over to Sterling Alley here. Sterling, thanks. Let us know what's in store.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nate. Yeah, just happy to be here to launch our advanced air mobility ecosystem and our first trade show using this new iteration of our platform. So what is this ecosystem homepage? Really, it's an online tool for the advanced air mobility community to discover, connect, and collaborate with your fellow creators. This is really our best attempt at doing an event or a trade show virtually during this strange new climate. So just a little bit of the bare bones on how you guys visit. You can either just Google Agility Prime Trade Show. It is that second link there, or just type straight in agilityprime.afworkshowcase.com. So the site is now live. This trade show is the first of many events we hope to host on this platform.
For some reason, your audio is giving us some problems. If you can maybe adjust a little bit, make sure we're catching all of that.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me better now, Nate?
That's better.
Yeah, so like I said, Google us, visit us at our link here below. Today, the trade show will be open from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern for the public, and then tomorrow for ecosystem members only to do some more focused discussions around the STTR and pairing up. Will be open from 11 to 3 p.m. Like I said, the booth should be virtually manned by a good amount of the booth should be manned today, we're hoping. So really how to visit, when you get to the trade show page, you'll just scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the search function and all the booths there. Really, we have the booths divided into 3 main categories of builders, flyers, and enablers. Really, this is just a first swing at some new terminology of trying to divide this ecosystem into a logical pattern, but really letting people filter themselves into where they see themselves fitting. So yeah, you'll be able to search through these things by categories or just by company names. And when you hop into the booths, you'll be able to learn about the company, what they're doing here. You can chat with us on Slack, join our Slack community. There's videos, brochures from the companies, and then obviously, of course, hop into their virtual conference and chat with them directly. So like I wanted to say, this is our first stress test of our new platform here. For those of you who were with us during our launch week, we took a first swing at this, and this is our second at bat, and we're hoping to grow this into the future. This platform is going to stay up live, open registration for more people to join, going on indefinitely. So hopefully we have more boosts tomorrow than we did today and on into the future. And then just over to Nate to talk about some folks hopping onto our team and helping us innovate into the future.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Sterling. As we mentioned, we are doing a lot of things here. AFWERX is moving forward. We are moving forward to scale innovation. We are a new organization. We're trying new things. To that end, not all of it's going to work perfectly. So we ask for your feedback. We welcome that feedback. We have a variety of ways of connecting with us. If you connect with us right now at agilityprime.com, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. If you look on those posts right now, you will see we are looking, besides the fantastic partnership, the teaming that is happening right now across the different media that's right, the number of, hey, let's connect that I'm seeing going across the page there. We are looking to hire. So if you go into agilityprime.com, if you go to Agility Prime on any of those multimedia sources, social media sources, you'll see opportunities to join that team. We are hiring through that. We are looking to continue to drive forward with this Air Race to certification. Just since our launch week, we've added a stack of partners that are ready to fly in the very short term. They will be in a position to go through some of those airworthiness processes. And now, as we get into this phase with this small business technology transfer, looking forward to buying that technology, connecting with the best teams that are out there to make sure that we have a resilient supply chain going forward. We are definitely continuing on the path, as we said, looking to reduce the risk across the technical capabilities. So making sure that you have a path, if you are ready to fly in the near term, to reduce that technical risk. We have companies right now who have received requests for prototype proposal to take their technologies to our wind tunnels, to take technologies to our climate labs, to have our testers provide feedback on their approach to flight test and the flight test that they're going to be doing this year. We have an approach that we will be moving forward on very quickly to reduce that regulatory risk. We have a full team that is ready to move forward on airworthiness. We have close collaboration with the Federal Aviation Administration across multiple levels to make sure that there's ways that we can eventually provide data and reduce that risk. We have then just recently been awarding multiple contracts. The companies that you saw earlier are companies that have chosen to join. Some of these are companies that just last year, folks look at this STTR and say, well, it's only $150,000. As Dave Shahady has outlined, as Jared Evans has outlined, as Jason Ratchey has outlined, this is kind of a first step, right? That first dollar amount may not be that much, but we have companies that just over the last year have gone to a $50,000 award to large multi-million-dollar awards that are going to be the basis to bring this technology forward into our Air Force. And we think by bringing it forward into our Air Force, by fielding in 2023, by doing flight tests this year, we are going to be in a position even better to bring it to your highways and skyways in the most complex opportunities that you see in the urban air mobility space. And all of those opportunities in between, working across the interagency with other use cases that are out there. So we continue to buy that, looking to burn down that financial risk, looking to bring other investors in as we, the Air Force, are investing into this particular capability. And then lastly, looking to connect that ecosystem, making sure that this is not just an opportunity, we'll go try a couple of flights and this fizzles away, but doing the deep work. You've seen that today we had the opportunity as AFWERX has moved into Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patt. We've had a lot of focus on Ohio, but there are municipalities we've met with regularly. There are other states that are out there that are posturing themselves. We welcome you to reach out. If you don't have a booth set up for your state or municipality, certainly welcome to do that. And as we go across under this new AFWERX, as we get these new concepts from our airmen, as we get this new technology from the most innovative companies in the world, combined with the research institutions, our universities, to build that workforce of the future, we are going to continue to team up across these organizations to make sure that we are able to bring this new era of aerospace forward together in a way that is accessible to all as we look to democratize this new era of aerospace with all of you. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time with a great set of leaders in the industry, leaders in academia, to answer those questions that you might have as we go forward and fly orbs into this new era of aerospace. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.